Awesome. Hi, everybody. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube with my friend Patricia Linderman, another Seven Movements ambassador. We've been doing a lot of these, Patricia, over the last few days, which is really exciting. You got to meet a few of the ambassadors on the last training. So welcome. And I think we'll just kick things off right away with why don't you tell the folks a little bit about your background in health and wellness. Give us a little bit of the history, because I know we talked about how much experience we had on the call last call. So give us an idea of the experience that you've had in the space.
Thank you, Dan. It's great to be here. Yeah, I was on a training with some other folks who had decades of experience, and I'm sort of on the other end because this was something new for me about 10 years ago.
Nice.
But you talk about the 80% of people in North America across demographics who aren't getting the recommended amount of movement. Well, I was in that statistic for sure. I was sedentary, had a heavy body, like not a good relationship with my body, just eating the standard American diet and wondering like, why am I having trouble getting off the floor and I feel achy all the time? And I wondered if there was something I could do about it. At first I thought like, no, I can't, that's not for me. But gradually I came around and I found some small steps that helped me feel better. And it actually gained momentum, and I really kind of turned my health around. I was 53 years old. I'm 63 now. And I was doing things like running a mile without stopping for the first time in my life. It was like, whoa, who is this person? So after I kept going for a while and I really loved my transformation, I said, well, maybe I can help some other people have this kind of success or results, or just feel better and do more of what they love to do. So I went ahead and got a certification as a personal trainer and a health coach, which if you had told me I would someday be a personal trainer, like when I was 40, I would have said like, you're crazy, that's ridiculous. But this is where my journey took me. I also became a functional aging specialist, and I've been coaching individuals and groups and leading workshops and leading workouts and having fun with it. And one of the big things that I do is work with the people who have not been exercising or eating healthy food, just where I was. And so when I heard about this Seven Movements, it's exactly what I encourage people to do. Add little things to their day. And that's what I did as well. And then you start feeling better, you start building on it. So my health coaching practice is called Fierce After 45.
Oh, I love that.
Because that's how I want people to feel, fierce and ready to take on what they love to do.
Amazing. That's such an interesting journey. And I think a lot of people move into, the health, fitness space based on their own experience, right? And it sounds like that's what you've done. I'm interested to learn what do you feel was like a catalyst to make you take the first step, I guess, where you go like, okay, like I need to do something here.
Yeah, that is a really good question. And I've been sort of investigating that with other people too.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you talk to someone who quit smoking and maybe they tried 6 times and then suddenly like they decided like, okay, this is it. So I think it was kind of that for me. I had reached the highest weight in my life and I was really groaning to get off the floor. And I was thinking like, is this it? Is this aging? Is this inevitable? Is it all downhill from here? And I said, no, I'm going to give it some kind of a try.
Right.
And I didn't know what to expect. But then fortunately, a gym opened near me that had aqua fitness classes. I'm like, that's doable. So, and I started like keeping a food journal in a little notebook. And I'm like, there are more special occasions here than I thought there were.
Right.
And so I had that moment of saying like, okay, let me try something. But when I tried, I started just finding my way in little by little.
Amazing. I mean, I, you're speaking the seven movements language, as you know now. That like small step by step, and that invitation into the world of exercise. So I'm curious, as a new seven movements ambassador, which we're super excited to have you as, by the way. How do you sort of envision using seven movements in obviously your own daily practice, as well as potentially with your clients or whoever, however you're going to share it with the world? How do you sort of vision that?
Yeah, well, I want to tell everybody I know about it because even if they are going to exercise a few times a week, we're all sitting around. We're sitting at our desks. We're
Right.
we're spending too much time in the same position. Even my standing desk right now, I'm still in the same position.
Right.
And so these little movement breaks in the app are just, I think, beneficial to absolutely everyone. But I definitely have clients in mind. Some of my clients and participants and followers, for example, I teach a balance class.
Right.
And this is the kind of thing we talk about, like take a break and move your body. And so I'm just super excited about bringing this to everybody.
Amazing. One last question I wanted to ask you. One amazing thing about having ambassadors on our team is we like tap into this depth of knowledge, like 100 years of experience on it almost, right? And now all of a sudden that becomes really interesting. And one thing you brought up is we are building a fall prevention course, and you mentioned, hey, maybe the language of that course could be adjusted for all kinds of reasons. And I was hoping you could touch on that, because I thought it was really interesting, and it's got me really thinking about how we even position things for potential users, particularly this population we're talking about, the 80% who don't move, they don't exercise. It's so important that we make things as inviting as possible to them. So when we were talking about falls prevention, you mentioned, hey, maybe we should tweak that name a little bit so it becomes more inviting. So I'd love to get more of your thoughts on that here on the call.
Sure. Yeah, we all know that names and how we spin things really matters. Like chair exercise is a wonderful thing. I love it. But if you advertise chair exercise, people think, well, that's for people much older than I
From the
am, or
90, yeah, yeah.
people who can't even stand up or whatever. So people have, and ageism plays a
Yeah.
role in some of these things. They think like, well, that is for older people, therefore it's not for me. Even if they're 70 or 80, like that's for my mom. That's not
Right.
for me. So we all also know that fall prevention is so important because it's one of the major causes of disability and even death. And we also know that our balance starts to decline after age 30 if we don't do anything about it. So that gap along the way where, somebody might be 80 and say like, yeah, I do need fall prevention. I'm sure
Right.
I do.
Sure.
But somebody who's 35 or 45 or 55 or 65 might be saying like, fall prevention, I'll deal with that later.
Right.
But in my experience, if you say balance training, they perk up and they're like, oh yeah, I have noticed my balance is going downhill. So they are willing to participate in a modality like that.
That's so interesting, isn't it? Like, and it's so true that the just how we position things or even talk about things, as we know on the seven movement side of things, it will either invite someone in to give something a try, or it will completely turn them off. And one of our criticisms of the fitness industry is we've created a lot of things that turn that 80% off, either by the way we name them or by the images we use to advertise them, or the classic screaming trainer that we see, the stereotypical screaming trainer that you might see on some TV shows. So thank you for that. Like, I think that's really going to come in play with how we name some of these programs, because you're right, we should all be doing balance training. 20-year-olds should be doing balance training.
That too, yeah.
So I just thought that was such a great example of having this team of ambassadors helping inform 7 movements and helping build this thing to make it more accessible, inclusive, and all of the things that we're trying to do with it. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, awesome. And you know, the word exercise turns a lot of people off because they've had bad experiences.
That's
So
right.
that's why it's 7 movements. It's not 7 exercises, right?
You got it. Yeah, we early days in 7 movements history, Patricia, I'll share this with you. A lot of our advisors to the company really, really were pushing us to have 7-minute, 7-minute exercise, 7-minute abs, right? Was the joke that would come, but they're like, no, this will work. And we really had to push back because what a lot of the business community will do is look at where the market is, right? They're like, oh, the 20% of people, these are the ones who purchase and participate in exercise stuff. So you need to build stuff for them. And we wanted to just go 180 from that and go, no, we're going to build for the people who aren't participating. So there is no market to really point at other than, hey, these are the people who actually aren't doing stuff. But I think when we create an invitation, they're going to accept that invitation. And what we're finding is there's a huge subset of people who will accept that invitation because they've either been previously left out of just the conversation. So we've dealt with a lot of people with chronic conditions who just had limitations. They couldn't go do a 30, 45-minute class. So they're just excited they have something that they can do, or they've just been those folks who never, you kind of mentioned it earlier, they never identified as exercisers, I guess. It's like, not for me, that's for somebody else. I have friends who are exercisers, but that's not me. So it's really fun to watch people join our program, start moving a little bit, and they start going, oh, I am an exerciser. I can do this. And then we aggregate up, right? As we know, as behaviorally as coaches, we know, okay, now we got you doing something 7 times a day. We can add to that, and we can start the snowball effect, as well as, this, as you start to feel better, you just want to move more because it doesn't hurt anymore to move. So, anyways, a little bit of a soapbox there. I apologize.
Great.
Long story short, we're so happy to have you on the team, Patricia. We're excited with all of the energy and experience that you're bringing to this ambassador group, and happy to have you as part of the 7 Movements Ambassador Network. If you're listening to this on there, reach out to Patricia. She's such an expert, and she has such interesting perspective on exercise. I think you just love to have a conversation with her. So let's start there. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Dan. It's been great. Really appreciate the opportunity and so excited about this network and the app.
Awesome.